Namaste and a very good morning. We'll be starting today's first session. As we go forward, I would like everyone to be seated, please. Please take your seat. Our first session for today is going to be opportunities in funding and strategies for fundraising. This session will be chaired by Shri Ashish Chauhan ji, who is MD and CEO of National Stock Exchange, Bharat. The detailed profile will be displayed as the respected speakers come on the stage and are about to speak. I would like to invite Shri Ashish Chauhan up on the stage. Ashish ji, please. Then I would like to invite Shri Subhash Thakrar ji, who is the former chairman, London Chamber of Commerce, UK. He is going to talk on investor perspective and due diligence. Subhash ji, please. Now I would like to invite Srimati Sangeeta Shankaran Sumesh ji up on the stage. She is a business coach and author from Bharat. I would like to invite now Shri Narayanan Sadanandan ji, who is an advisor, capital market and independent director from Bharat. He is going to talk on infrastructure financing and infra bonds in Bharat. Now I'll request Shri Ashish Chauhan ji to take the session forward. Ashish ji, please. I would like to request all the speakers who are going to speak on this dais to please come forward and be seated in the first rows. Thank you.
So, good morning. It's a pleasure and honor to be in front of you, and I'm sure all my fellow speakers also echo the same sentiment. First, we will have the three speakers speaking, then I will also be making my comments, and then there will be a question-answer session, so keep your questions ready. With that, I invite Shri Subhash Thakrar to come and make his presentation. Thank you very much.
Namaskar. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I think the organizers of this event deserve a real accolade. Can we please give them a big round of applause? They've done a wonderful job. And thank you very much for inviting me to speak. I seem to be a kind of a regular fixture now. My topic is to fundraising and investors' perspective. For the next 10 minutes, I'm going to be covering a few topics. Let me see if this works. Okay, these are the topics I will be covering. Investors' perspective in Bharat's funding landscape, due diligence process, investment criteria, factors that affect investment decisions, which I think probably is the most important thing to look at, best practices, and then some interesting tips that you can take away with. It's always good to take 2 or 3 points back with you about any session. So as the time is short, so I'm going to run through the process, and then hopefully we can deal with any questions and answers arising from that. Here we are, investors' perspective. I've been involved with investing in India or Bharat since the mid-90s. And times were very, very tough. The entrepreneurs in Bharat used to find that it was very difficult to raise funds. But I have to tell you that the landscape has totally changed. Today, Bharat businesses can benefit hugely from a variety of sources of funding. So if you've got a good proposition, rest assured you can find funds to invest. And just to give you a little more perspective on that, on the global scale, Bharat used to represent about 2 to 3% of the total global portfolio for investing. This is quite a surprise thing. That used to be the case. It's now nearly 13 to 15% of the global portfolio. So Bharat has become an attraction for international funds to look at participating. Of course, it's nothing like how much it is put in US or China for that matter, but it's increasing and it's doing well. The other interesting thing is there's an index called Ease of Doing Business in the world, and it's in full index. And again, Bharat used to be in the level of 190 out of some 208 countries. And that position has again moved up down to 63. So that's quite a jump in improvement in how Bharat is looked at. There are more and more international funds coming in Bharat. There are new models of participating in investing. Limited liability partnerships is one such thing. I'm involved with an organization which is based in the UK called JPIN, who've been able to raise about $10 million from participants in UK, Europe, and Middle East, investing in startup and fintech companies. And today, those companies are worth about $100 billion, $100 million. And these are about 40 companies. So, there are some new vehicles coming out for funding. There is also the stock market listing in Bharat. You can, if you are a small company, I know Ashish ji will elaborate much more on this, but if you got a turnover of about 300, net worth of about $300,000 and 3 years old business, you can generally qualify to get listed on the Bombay Stock Exchange or Mumbai Stock Exchange. And average investment levels can be $2 to $4 million. And companies from Gujarat, Maharashtra have been dominant in this area. And again, I'm involved with a company called Indorient Financial Services, who have been active in supporting companies to get a listing. When you get a listing, you also have the benefit of good governance coming through with that. There are other ideas like angel investing. There are organizations that are involved in angel investors, and I'm sure some of you are already angel investors in some of the companies that you get involved. There's a concept of venture debt in India where instead of buying shares in the company, they will give you a loan at an expensive rate of interest. But sometimes that's a cheaper route than selling shares of your company. Selling shares of the company may sound cheap, but it's actually expensive, right? So you must take a good look at that process. There's crowdfunding. I'll give you a little example of Captain Moore, who was 99 in UK, and he decided that he's going to walk 100 rounds in his garden and turn by the time he reaches 100. And he was hoping to raise £1,000. Through crowdfunding, you won't believe it, but he ended up raising £40 million. Can you imagine? That is the effect of crowdfunding. However, crowdfunding it doesn't seem to work so much in business funding, but it does happen. And then there is obviously the traditional funding with banks where they require personal guarantees and interest, but as I said, it can be sometimes a cheaper route. So I will move on to the next point, which is the due diligence process. First of all, I bet that any party who is going to invest in your company are going to do a thorough due diligence process. Don't underestimate them. It's my first thing, and be well prepared for that. Do not try to pull wool over their investors' eyes. They are clever, they've made money in life, and they will spot wherever you are trying to cover up, they will spot you. And then you've lost total credibility. So it's extremely important that the due diligence process, you're well prepared for that. And the main thing that any party, any investor is looking at is not only your business plan, but really the quality of the management team, the promoters. You know, if they gain confidence in the promoters, many investors will even get involved in guiding you and supporting you in your the way to do the business. So, but credibility is most important. Many families now have a family office. Large, wealthy families have a family office, and they're investing in companies. But they do very, very thorough due diligence process. The process can take up to 3 to 6 months. So don't underestimate how much work is involved in there. And typically, of course, they are looking at return on the investment and payback time. I move on to investment criteria. Really, I've tried to just concentrate on the bits that are most important, and that is when the business, any investor has got to look at it. If they're going to participate in the business has to be profitable. Not immediately, but you need to demonstrate that it has got capability of turning into a profit. So there's a path for profitability. The business model needs to be proven. You know, you have a concept, you have an idea, you have some technology. Make sure that it's proven. So at least if you manage to demonstrate that there is some sales activity, some revenue taking place, there are some customers buying from you, then you stand a good chance for somebody to participate with you. It needs to be scalable. You know, can it grow to a reasonable size? Because people who are investing want to have a return on their investment, and typically that return can be about IRR of 20%, annualized return of 20%, and you need to demonstrate that you can achieve that for them. They also need to see how they will exit from the business, and typical exits could be that an institutional investor buys out the company, or the company itself can buy the investor's shareholding, or listing on the exchange. Then there are many companies that I've seen who these days are the fintech companies who come along and say, we're growing very fast, but when you say, are you making profit? There's no profit, there's bottom line losses. And then you say, what sort of valuation do you put your company? And they do it a multiple of, not profit, multiple of sales, and like 10 times the sales and so on. So people can be totally unrealistic in their valuations. And Miles, the business model might be good, the opportunity might be good, people may like it, but they will still not invest because you're not realistic in your valuation. So you need to be realistic. And it doesn't have to be sort of discounted value, but it needs to be realistic. Most importantly, again, as I mentioned, the promoter and the credibility is the really, really important matter from the investors' criteria. They will take a loss with you, they will venture with you as long as you're credible and you're really sharing your real truths with them. Whenever you have a business, the investors will always see whether you have the necessary expertise in that sector, right? Or technical capabilities, or knowledge of the industry, or connectivity, or special contract arrangements. So they will always look out whether you have anything like that in your business, because that makes it attractive. This is what probably the investor doesn't have. What is your USP, unique selling point in your business? So how do you distinguish yourself amongst your competitors is really interesting. And then the best practice for entrepreneurs. You must believe in your business. You must live and breathe your business. Then only somebody else will start living and breathing with your business. If you don't, then others will not. The governance in the business and reliability of again, it comes back to the credibility. The governance in the business. Are your finances up to date? Are your accounts filed with the company's house? Are they making sense? All this is extremely important in anybody investing, because if you're behind in your filings or your tax returns are not filed, the investors are not going to gain the confidence in you. And your business model needs to be very, very clear. And I think this afternoon we've got a session for people to pitch, and we have investors who are going to be listening to them. And we call them, I always say, make it an elevator speech. So as you come on the elevator, it takes 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Are you able to demonstrate and tell the investor the super part about your business? In that 2 minutes, what can you achieve? What impression can you create on that? And then always think about the exit for the investor. I'll just move on, I think. Okay, I'm very quick. I'm running out of time, so I'll go straight into the tips. Ensure that you have a good, solid business plan. That is very, very important in this. Highlight your strengths and don't forget about highlighting your weaknesses as well. Any investor will want to know what your weaknesses are. So it's better that you're prepared and you tell them what they are, and then you tell them how you're going to deal with them. And then your most important part is, can they trust you? Can they trust you? So you've got to win their trust over. And do your SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats of your business. And when you have a choice of investors, select the ones who are going to take the full journey with you. Because business is not straightforward. It makes losses, it has ups and downs. Everybody realizes that, and you need to find somebody who can work with you. Thank you very much.
So you can see that the presentation is only a glimpse. We have the speakers who will also be available to you after the session and later on during the day, so you can discuss with them other details. The next topic is infrastructure financing and infra bonds in Bharat by Shri Narayanan.
Pranam, Namaste, and very good morning to all of you. It's 10 minutes, and I have seen Ashish Bhai stopping earlier, so I got to do a 100-meter dash, and I think if I sound monotonous, Shama chata hu. As Bharat completes 75 years of independence, the nation is evolving as a prominent force in the global economic order. Bharat is the world's 5th largest economy, and the prospect of steady progress in the coming years is bright. JP Morgan has recently forecasted that Bharat to become the 3rd largest economy by 2027, and will reach 7 trillion economy by 2030. That means that it will be doubling the size of the economy by the time. Currently, the global economy is going through a turbulent times with a protracted war in East Europe and new development in Middle East and evolving geopolitical situation showing no signs of abatement. Thus, expectation of a recession both in Europe and USA is gathering momentum. At the same time, the zero COVID-19 policy in China till Jan 23, sharp spike in commodity prices and a consequent monetary tightening by US Fed is putting global economy at risk. The global headwinds are impacting countries across the world, and I think Bharat may not be able to remain unscathed. In such a situation, creation of an adequate and affordable infrastructure is critical to pump the economy, regenerate demand, and stimulate growth. Quantity and quality of infrastructure and level of economic development across countries are closely and strongly correlated. Empirical evidence points the positive effect of infrastructure towards bringing overall economic growth. Back in 2019, government adopted a forward-looking, programmatic approach towards infrastructure the National Infrastructure Pipeline was introduced with a projected investment of 111 lakh crores, 111 trillion rupees for the year 2020 to 2025 for developing a comprehensive view on the infrastructure development in the country to realize the vision of emerging as an US 5 trillion economy by 2025. The funding of infrastructure comes from a variety of sources, from the government to the private as well as multilateral. It was envisaged that 80% comes from government and government entities and 20% from private. However, given the quantum of funding involved, a creative financing option such as asset monetization was also envisaged through a 5 lakh crore national monetization pipeline, which is private participation in running a risk-free brownfield assets, monetizing of unused and underutilized assets. The programmatic approach to the infrastructure complemented by structural and financial reforms such as infrastructure financing as of InvIT and REACH, creation of a dedicated financing institution, NAFID, National Bank of Financing Infrastructure and Development, as well as recapitalization of other sectoral development financial institutions, etc., for a long-term finance. Public investment in infrastructure would have a high spillover impact on the economy and would crowd in private investment. Already, there are early signs of private sector investing in infrastructure projects, especially in roads and power sectors. The government is also encouraging the private investors to participate in creating a pipeline of operating assets which would remove some of the riskier element of investing in a project in large projects. At the same time, infrastructure projects in Bharat are also attracting the global institutional investors due to high return of investment and steady revenue streams generated by such projects. Hence, government is creating a framework where foreign institutional investors can also participate in a wide range of sectors. InvIT have also gained traction in recent years for monetizing operational projects and freeing up of capital for new projects. To further encourage private sector investment, infrastructure bonds, they are long-term debt instrument with a maturity of at least 7 years with no cap on maturity. In Bharat, infrastructure bonds are invariably patronized by banks. There are two types. One is tax saving, another is regular income. As RBI wants to encourage investment in infrastructure, these are exempt. These infrastructure bonds are exempted from SLR and CRR requirements. They are also senior. They are senior to tier 1, tier 2, as well as equity. They are almost equivalent to deposits in the bank. As said earlier, only banks have successful in issuance of infra bonds on account of restriction in investment based on credit rating. I come to that later. So the subdued demand conditions in the economy accruing from global factors mentioned earlier dissuade private sector from committing their resources in risky projects like infrastructure in a big way. There is a need to create a new and a diverse avenue for raising funds by the private sector going forward. I have some suggestions, some options which has been given. So the primary one is that how we need to revitalize the bond market and credit market. Credit enhancement institutions for infrastructure projects is expected to open up appetite for bond market and for investing in infrastructure projects. Institutional investors are more suitable for funding infrastructure projects given the long-term patient capital they are having. However, strict regulatory requirements make these investors to invest only in safe government and public sector bonds, and they have limited appetite for high risk, below AA rated papers. As most of the infrastructure projects are rated below AA, it is critical to enhance their rating to augment the access of institutional investors, a well-capitalized credit enhancement institution would serve the purpose. Long-term resources from pension and and insurance sectors are channelized into the infrastructure bond market. However, the existing investment guidelines of the insurance as well as pension funds limit the exposure of such funds to InvIT and REIT, which itself needs some streamlining to promote active participation. So, the other point is that strengthening of municipal bonds. Most of the urbanization is funded by municipal bonds. Grants from state and central government dominate the municipal finance landscape in Bharat, which is substantially lower than the investment requirement of the local government. In order to augment their funding sources, they have to start tapping the bond market. So far, 11 local bodies in India have raised rupees 3,881 crores via municipal bonds. By 2024, 50 cities are expected to issue in municipal bonds. However, absence of secondary market for municipal bonds, problem relating to rating of bonds, accounting practices followed by municipal bodies, inadequacy of user charges for generating adequate cash flow to service these bonds are the issues to be addressed in order to attract investors into the sector. Asset monetization. The direct benefit of asset monetization is that it creates an enabling environment for participation of long-term financial institutional investors and introduce private sector efficiencies in the management of these projects. The NHI is amongst the first to monetize operational assets in the past 4 years. InvIT has been a key to which private developers would monetize their investment in infrastructure projects to enable them to raise cash for new projects development. The Indian InvIT market is yet to mature and has supported formation of only 10 InvITs, out of which only 2 are listed. Deepening of IDF, that is infrastructure development markets and development of asset-based securitization market are essential, which need to attract FPIs and FDIs also. To conclude, finally, I would suggest that a continued thrust on infrastructure spending will rekindle fresh investment, facilitate ease of doing business, improve the quality of the life and give a boost to the inclusive growth. Hence, development of a viable option for financing infrastructure development should be considered as an important element in the micro-financial policy toolkit of promoting growth. Thank you. Thank you for patient listening. Dhanyavad.
The next topic is Future Trends in Fundraising and Financial Innovation in Bharat by Srimati Sangeeta Shankaran Sumesh.
Namaste. I'm going to be talking about future trends in fundraising and financial innovations, and I'm going to intersperse my talk with learnings from our Hindu Dharma. Narad Rishi, he had a divine magical fruit which he gave to Lord Shiva and Parvati. Shiva and Parvati wanted to give it to one of their sons, the first one who could circle the world 3 times. Hearing this, Kartik hopped onto his peacock and off he went. Ganesh, on the other hand, knowing his limitations, decided to circle his parents 3 times because his parents meant the world to him. So what can we learn about this from a fundraising perspective? I call this the keys for fundraising. Pause and think. Are you raising funds for the sake of raising funds? Can you utilize the funds more effectively to scale your business? How can you effectively utilize your funds? So think about that. The second P is the perspective shift. Can you shift your perspective? Can you look at things from a different lens? Can you do things differently so that your business gains the most? The third P is to pivot on strengths. How can you leverage on your strengths so that whatever weaknesses that you have, you can cover them up and mitigate your risks? So those are the 3 Ps. Keep that in mind before you raise funds. Did you know machine automation and machine intelligence existed from the time of Mahabharat? I'm talking about the Sudarshan Chakra of Krishna. It could identify the target, destroy the target, and come back to its owner. So when you're talking about future trends in fundraising, automation is something that obviously excites investors, anything that's innovative in the space of automation. And that apart, what else do investors like? Renewable energy. It can be clean tech, climate tech, agri-tech. Those are potential areas that investors love to invest in. Let me give you examples from Bharat. 75F is a startup that's into smart building solutions, such as wireless sensors and proactive building automation. And then you have Ace Green, which is into recycling of batteries. Coimbatore-based biofuels, it segregates and from waste biomass and it converts to biofuels. A stands for automotive. In this day and age, automotive is synonymous with electric vehicles. And the example from Bharat I'd like to share is none other than Ola Electric, which is intelligent and sustainable electric vehicles. What is I? I is for innovation. Any sort of innovation that you can come up with in whatever domain that you're working in, that is something investors would get attracted towards. So the example here is Razorpay. I'm sure most of us here would have used it. It's an online payment gateway that is used in Bharat. S stands for your social impact. What sort of social impact can your business come up with? What sort of social impact is your startup into? Because social impact is something that's gaining a lot of importance these days. So the example I'd like to share is about a startup called Happy Hens. It is into organic, free-range egg suppliers in Bharat. The birds are not caged. They are allowed to roam around freely in the farms. E stands for your ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance. ESG is gaining a lot of traction, not just in the investment space, but even otherwise. Corporates also, like you may know, have to follow the ESG standards. And therefore, ESG is a high and upcoming area, has a lot of potential in the trends in fundraising. And the example I'd like to share from Bharat is about Trini, which is an ESG consulting and technology partner. They are into minimizing supply chain risks and building enterprise resilience. Samudra Manthan. Like we know when this was churned, what happened? What were the things that evolved? First came the poison, and then it was the gems, and then it was Dhanvantri, Kamadhenu, and so on. So similarly, the fundraising practices have been evolving. So what can we learn from them? We is your venture debt, which is nothing but a type of loan or debt financing, which is used to finance your working capital requirements, or it could be for purchasing capital expenses. So that is your venture debt. A is your alternative funding. That is nothing but the non-diluted funding. And here you don't have to sell a portion of your company to get the money, and that's why it's known as an alternative funding. L is lot of investors, and that's nothing but your crowdsourcing. You have many people investing small amounts into taking it as your investment, which is nothing but your crowdsourcing. U is useful investing, which is your impact investing. Impact investing, again, is something very, very important. Of course, they look at financial returns. The investors look for financial returns. But that apart, what is more important is the kind of impact your startup can create. So that is your useful investing. And E is your early stage investing. Like the name says, it's at the early stage, wherein it has limited revenue, small number of people working, and the products are just about evolving, and therefore, it could be quite risky. However, this might also be highly rewarding from an investor perspective. So that's on your evolving fundraising practices. Let's get back to Mahabharat. Duryodhan blindly followed Shakuni Mama, which led to his devastation. They looked only at a short-term perspective and did not have a long-term vision in mind, right? So similarly, if you want to come up with financial innovations, you need to have the long-term vision in mind. So what should you be doing? What are the focus areas? Focus on these 4 Ps. The first being people. And the example I'd like to share with you is the UPI, which has revolutionized the way the financial transactions are being made. I would also like to mention Ayushman Bharat digital mission, which is into promoting digital healthcare. The second P is on the planet. green finance, green bonds, green loans, green banks. All of these are into financing projects that have a positive environmental impact. So if you're into any of these spaces, that is a good space to be in. And the largest green bond issuer, Bharat Green Co Group, they are into funding hydro, solar, and wind power projects. The third P is the product. IPPO is a payment infrastructure company that's into collecting and disbursing payments for business. Similarly, another one is called Entitled, which is into financial wellness and financial inclusion for the low-income workers. Startups is not just about valuation, you also need to make money, so therefore generating your profits is also very important. And look at Jio, for instance. They have changed the way the digital penetration into rural India as well, and therefore focus on the profitability of your business as well. Now, I often get asked, how do I pitch? How do I make a good pitch? Apart from the elevator pitch that my co-panelists mentioned about, what else can be a good way to attract investment? Think about these 5 areas that you have to mention in your pitch deck. First, Ma Durga. What did she do? She slayed Mahishasura. Similarly, your business, what is the problem that it's solving? Mention about that in your pitch deck. I stands for your investment required. Vyasa had asked Ganesha to write the Mahabharata as he was dictating. Ganesha agreed, but he had a condition. He said, you must recite the verses non-stop, and then only I will be writing for you. Vyasa agreed, but he had a counter condition. He said, as you're writing, you must understand the meaning of it and then write. So you see what happens? He negotiated well and created a win-win strategy for both. So similarly, when it comes to your pitch deck, when you're talking about the investment that's required, create a win-win strategy for both you as well as your investor. Mention how effectively you're going to use the investment, the funds that are being raised. So talk about that. T is for your team. When we say Pandavas, you of course know who the team concept comprises, right? So similarly in your business, who are your co-founders? Who are the industry experts you deal with? Who are your board directors? Who are your mentors? Do you work with coaches? So on and so forth. So talk about the team that is part of your business. C stands for your customer acquisition strategy. Vishnu, when he dressed as Mohini, he lured his customers, lured the Asuras. So in your business, how are you luring your customers? How are you going to acquire your customers? What is your go-to market strategy? So speak about all of these. And lastly is the H, which is your high-level numbers. Many times, many people tell me, oh, numbers, it's so confusing, finance is boring, challenging, not my cup of tea, it's like a chakra view. But my friends, if you need to be on top of the game in your business, you need to understand your numbers, you need to know the finance aspect of your business model, your revenue model, and so on. So therefore, you need to pay attention to that aspect as well. So that is the pitch, which is you need to cover in your presentation, in your pitch deck. So lastly, Visarjan, right? What happens? Visarjan signifies adaptability in anticipation of return next year. It reminds us that nothing is constant and also enables thriving of our economy in the form of pandals and related festivities when it comes to Ganesh Chaturthi. So similarly, if you were to ace in your space and ace in your game, what should you follow? Embrace adaptability, embrace change, and embrace economic growth so that you contribute to the growth of the country. So that is what I wanted to share with you. I'm reachable. My social media handles are the Gain Enabler. So happy to connect with you. I work on maximizing potential, performance, and profits, and those are my books. And since you've been an amazing audience, if you'd like to get free copies of my book, please get in touch with me. I'll share you a copy of my ebook. Thank you very much. Dhanyavad.
So good thing is I don't have slides. As it was said, India will become the 3rd largest economy in the world by 2027. But when I grew up in late 70s, early 80s, I was always bombarded, although I was studying engineering, I was always bombarded with a word called Hindu rate of growth. I don't know how many of you remember. I think I can see a lot of hands, a lot of people smiling. It was a derogatory word that India cannot grow at all. It is less than 4%, probably 2% should be what Hindu rate of growth. And because of Hindus, India will not grow beyond that, because we keep on fighting, we divide ourselves into different parts and so on and so forth. So do you think in last 30 years, post-liberalization, that Hindu rate of growth has gone from, say, 2%, 3%, 4% in different people's mind to decisively 7.5%? Have we done it together? So give us a round of applause, all of us Hindus. What happened in last 30 years and specifically in last 10 years? So I'll tell you the story where we came, how did we come in next few minutes, and then of course we have some time to question us, all of us. And of course, around early 90s, I think 1991, we had a serious balance of payment crisis where we were not able to import, or we did not have the foreign currency to import even 15 days of imports. And that's why we had to sell our gold or pledge our gold, as it is said. And I was just starting my job, and basically we were, my company, that is IDBI, was managing the private sector loans which were taken in foreign currency. And so I have been pretty much party to many of these things. And today, yesterday I tweeted that India's foreign currency foreign currency reserves increased to $596 billion. It's, I think, third or fourth largest in the world. And that is what we have achieved in last 30 years, 32 years. And that's why did this happen? What happened is that India started investing in its institutions. India started investing into what we call public digital infrastructure. Today, public digital infrastructure is a very large and important point across the world. There are hard infrastructure and there is soft infrastructure. Hard infrastructure is all bridges, roads, ports, which we need to still build. We are building, as it was said, in that national infrastructure pipeline, we had 120 lakh crore being invested. But more importantly, we ended up starting newer institutions like National Stock Exchange, which was completely screen-based. There was no floor at all. A stock exchange used to have a floor. NSE was the first stock exchange in the world. When it was set up, had no floor at all. After it became successful, New York Stock Exchange, London Stock Exchange, Chicago, Japan, all of them became automated. So we were the pioneers of digital public infrastructure, or PDI as it is now known in India, which of course is Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, Mobile, CoWIN and everything else, GST. And what we have done is that setting this up in 1993-94, when I was setting up NSE, India's total market capitalization as defined by the total companies listed and at their value was 4 lakh crore rupees. Today, it is 3.25 crore rupees, $3.8 trillion. That is 3.25 multiplied by 14 zeros. Add 14 zeros and 80 times this is increased. Why it has increased is because of automation. Now everyone trusts the Indian markets. People's trust in India's entrepreneurs has increased manifold. They are able to invest in India's entrepreneurs from anywhere in the country. Today, using your mobile, people from Dibrugarh or Jorhat are able to invest small little money, 1,000 rupees, $8, $10, into a company doing work in Salem in Tamil Nadu. That 1,000 rupees may not be important to you, but that 1,000 rupees is important to that small investor. And she has a complete confidence that her 1,000 rupees invested in that entrepreneur will be used correctly. And in case profit happens, then she will have a part in that profit. It is such a great leap of faith that India has created in its population that today 140 crore Indians are trusting each other. We are a very trustful society today. It is not easy for trusting people. A brother doesn't trust brother. A sister doesn't trust sister, especially for poor people. Our per capita GDP today in India is still one of the lowest in the world. but there is no market which is of our type in the world. At $2,600 per capita, we are now the 4th largest market capitalization country in the world. After US, China and Hong Kong and Japan, we have now $3.8, $3.9 trillion as market capitalization. Almost $4 trillion. There is no similar country in the world. Countries which have double per capita income than us, $5,000 per capita income, there is no similar country with that market. At $10,000 per capita, there is no similar market. At $20,000 also, there is no such capital markets. It's only in India. How did it happen? 4 times, 8 times GDP having countries per capita are not having people trusting other people with their hard-earned money. How is it happening in India? Why did it happen in India? It is because of our tradition of doing business for the society. We have tradition from Daneshwari Karna, from Bhamasa to later on Tatas and everyone else. Our people trust their businesses. Despite all what we hear in Hindenburg and everything, we are now the best governed or amongst the top 5 governed, including the ease of doing business ranking. Best 5 governed, corporate governed exchanges in the world for minority protection. That is, people who are not owning the larger shares in the company, their protection, small little investors, we are amongst the best in the world. And that's why small people with transparency, when I was growing up, getting a quarterly results was not possible. Even annual results was very difficult for a company. Today, if you don't give quarterly results, your company stops getting traded. And that's where India has been able to make a huge dent. Why people are investing today from abroad. Last 30 years, India has now got literally $350 billion or even more from foreigners investing in India. But that $350 billion has now become close to $700 billion. They own almost 20%, 19% of India's total market capitalization. But more interestingly, earlier, we were dependent on foreigners for our growth. We require capital. We were saving a lot, but we were not financializing our savings. Today, most of our funding needs, 120 lakh crore for national infrastructure pipeline, or for all our small companies, SME companies, large companies, Indians are now financing themselves. Our mutual fund now size has gone up to 46.75 lakh crore. It was not even half or even 1/5 in 10 years back. And that is where today NSE has 8.25 crore investors directly investing with it. 8.25 crore. We know each investor's phone number, address, email ID, and of course government knows their biometrics also. But effectively, if we were a country at 8.25 crore people, we would be 20th largest in the world. And that is the kind of numbers, more and more people are coming. 3 years back, there were less than 3 crore investors in India. And this is unique investors. It's not that one person having 3 accounts or 5 accounts with 5 brokers. No, unlike SIM cards. Here, we have all the details. It is 8.25 crore unique PAN numbers. And in 3 years, it has actually gone up 2 times. That is, from less than 3 crores, now it is 8.25 crores. And it's increasing every day. Youngsters who are coming into job markets are earning more than their parents, and they have, of course, increased the consumption, but many of them save, and they save through stock markets. And that is what is the story of India, story of whatever you see in financing, whether government needs financing, state governments need financing, infrastructure financing, SME financing, municipal bond financing, every type of instruments today we have. NSE is considered the largest exchange of any type in the world today. In terms of the value traded, we are 3rd largest in the world. In the number of trades, we are the largest. On some days, we do 45% of all trades in the world in all exchanges put together. And our response time is less than few microseconds. 1 second has a million microseconds, 10 lakh microseconds. So in terms of technology, in terms of what people need to invest in, what information they need to get, that transparency, that trust is what the government has been able to create, the judiciary has been able to create, our regulators, exchanges, and of course, our entrepreneurs. The credit goes to our entrepreneurs, and that's where we have gone decisively, in my opinion, especially in last 10 years. That the Hindu rate of growth, I think, has to adjust from 4% to 7.5%. Thank you very much. So I have been told to encourage you to send us questions. We will try to answer as much as possible. We have still got around 25 minutes. We can extend probably 5 minutes more, but please keep your questions to the questions and only one question at a time. And I've been told that people have tendency to actually make comments. Next time, if you want to make comments, just tell the organizers. They might include you in panelist name. But today, please restrict it to questions. Okay, Prabhu Gaurangadas ji.
Thank you very much, Ashish ji, for sharing your wonderful insights on the markets. One question is, from the ethical and the philosophical and cultural point of view, what are some of the significant 2-3 elements in Hindu culture or family traditions which you really feel have played a major role in transforming the way India operates in its business and governance?
No, thank you, Prabhuji. I will ask Srimati Sangeeta to sort of answer that because she has invoked many of our stories. All of us will, of course, being Hindus, we will have our own views, but I'm sure we need to give her the first opportunity to answer.
Namaste, Swamiji. So that's a great question. I have never thought of it like that, but what comes to my mind is, I think, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. I think from a culture and Hindu Dharma perspective, if we stop thinking just about me and my family and have a larger vision and not have a selfish attitude, I think that would help. And I think ethics is something that needs to be integral to each of us. And therefore, if you follow that, and in your mind, because sometimes I have always found, there could be things that are gray. But the yardstick that I use is, if it's creating a doubt in you, then maybe there's a small element which is not related to the integrity factor. So if you're very clear, then you're sure that you're doing the right path. So that is your integrity. And like I said, if we look at the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, I think that might help. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that aptly sums up. Who else?
Myself, Samir Panda.
Okay.
I am a WSC volunteer also. We have a company that's making tires with zero emissions, and it is world's first anti-puncture, anti-burst tire. I have a question for Sangeeta ma'am. You told about the green bond. So can you elucidate about it so that we can get the advantage of this kind of innovation?
Yes, so anything that creates a positive environmental impact, anything that is good for the environment, right? Because we need to conserve the environment as well. So any of these green things is what helps. So you have banks that finance green loans. There are green bonds that happen, right? So all these when you say green, then it's related to the environment. So any of those, I'm sure you can leverage on that. You need to talk to the banks and then mention about that. Yes.
Thank you. I think we have a gentleman here.
I'm Brahm Agarwal from Orlando, Florida. We are in the real estate business. Home building, we develop communities and apartment buildings and all. So my thing is that we are very ignorant about the possibilities in India. And we feel, especially people who are involved in this group, we feel that there's tremendous potential in India. But how do we go about it? And then that money in the return we get, we are not interested in taking it back to America. We can all do it here. And now, especially America, dollar, may not be that good for a long time. And America is coming up. So who do we talk to invest money in India?
No, thank you. I think it's a very good question, probably for most NRIs. one thing I would request you not to do charity for India. Try to make money in India. Wherever you need to take, please do that. But Subhash ji has been, he is in London, and he has been investing and making people invest in India on variety of structures. So I would tell him, but idea is that India want you to make money, don't do charity on us.
Absolutely, I totally agree with Ashish ji. You know, you need to make money, and in fact, I also wanted to respond to the Swamiji's question earlier, that I think ultimately people invest where they're going to make a return, right? That is the defining factor. I know it's controversial because we might say we do it because we like the people. Yes, as I said earlier, we like the people, but they have to be making money for you. Then only you're going to do it. So I think, but as regards to the vehicles for investment, there are quite a lot of organizations who can take your money and invest it. Sometimes, in my experience, and I've done 25 years of business in Bharat, also in the infrastructure space, it's very difficult to be a direct operator in business in Bharat if you're based abroad. Best is to go to organized investor houses and give them your money, choose them well, and then check how they perform. And that works very well, and people have made fairly large amounts of money in that process.
So just to add to this, Hyundai has just recently purchased a very large plot in Mumbai, I think at Lower Parel. So even the larger foreign companies are now directly trying to invest in India's real estate and office spaces and things like that. The other way, like Brookfield, which is a Canadian agency, and there are Canadian pension funds and all, they end up investing literally billions of dollars in ready-made infrastructure projects, which is like ports, roads, even office spaces. They take literally $1 billion running office spaces which are on lease, and we have some of the Indian entrepreneurs here in similar space. I can see Mr. Jivraj who can also guide you to figure out how does this thing happen. But basically, there are many ways to cut the cake, and I'm sure within this group, if we just do a little bit of networking, you will find many answers to your question. But it's a very pertinent question. How do we invest in India from abroad because of our love and affection for the country, for the people of the country, and naturally many of us sitting outside also want India to come up, and now that it is looking like it's coming back and resurging, or it's a resurgent India, how do we participate in that? And that's where I think we have many people from India here who can actually help you make decisions, but please, the way I look at it is, first you verify and then trust, rather than trust and verify. We will discuss later on after this is over. Okay, there. You have a mic.
Namaste.
Okay, this question and then later.
Namaste, I am Hemendra from Delhi, Bharat. My question is to Shri Ashish Chauhan ji. We know that NSE and BSE has grown in number of transactions, etc. But my question and problem which I want to address is that still there are a lot of companies, especially penny stock companies, which are non-compliant towards ROC, towards bankers, towards GST, and still they are being traded on the stock exchanges. Because of that, a lot of investors are being cheated by them. So can it be any process wherein NSE and BSE intervene, and in case of any of non-compliance and public disclosure requirement failure, the listing and trading is closed, so that at least we can save investors who are trusting and dealing in those shares?
Sure, thank you. So this is a question which is very technical. Many of you who do not invest in shares might not understand. But India's framework for stock markets is the exchanges act as bulletin boards. That is, a company has to give information on periodic basis as well as on important events. In case something goes right, something goes wrong, they need to give information to the exchange, which exchange gives it to the public. That is the role the exchanges play, and that's a very important role because transparency comes in companies' workings there. The question is, if the company is not paying, say, taxes well, or company is not paying their employees in time, or their vendors in time, can exchanges help them pay up those taxes? What is required is that there is a portal being launched by NSE in 2024, where information about all their court cases, all their compliances on the tax side and legal side, those things will be provided as much as available from the public data, because today India is the, what I call the soft infrastructure or digital capital infrastructure in the world, where all the information is available in some or other government databases. We are trying to cull out those information and give it to the public. But our job is not to make them pay. That is policing. We don't have those rights, although you may ascribe those rights to us. Our job is to just get the information as much as possible and provide it to public. If they don't provide, we stop their trading. So today, all the companies listed on or traded on NSE have all the information that is required to be given on quarterly basis is provided. If they don't, in 2 quarters, we stop their trading. So NSE is around 2,500 stocks, out of which around 200 are suspended, which is basically because of the reason of non-compliance of the disclosure norms. So we do that, and naturally, it's a signal to public that these companies, you should not be investing your money in. But imagine people who have already invested their money in, but that is a different question to solve. But effectively, what your questions are, we actually do, but we are going to do more by creating newer information channels through which you can get some of the information currently you don't have.
Excuse me, delegates. We have 10 minutes time. We will give sufficient time for everybody to ask their questions. Okay? Don't rush up one by one. Please have the questions brief.
Yeah. Good morning, sir. Thanks for the delegates for delivering a very informative lecture and the informations. My question is on the startups. When compared to Western countries now, where startups are very high, even though their success rate is very less, but they do it. India is very rich in knowledge. There are youngsters there, they are aspiring to become entrepreneurs, but they don't know how to make a startup and whom to approach and whom to fund. I've seen a lot of engineering students in there, they have brilliant ideas, but they approach for angel funding or incubators, they don't get any support at all. Now, what are the steps as I would rather say matured investors as well as the important people assembled here, how we can make this forum which make a decision so that the startup youngsters are supported well in the ground. So they are coming up.
That's a very important question. Sangeeta ji, you want to take a look, and then Subhash ji can, both of them, one of them invests other people's money and his money, and then Sangeeta ji actually trains people what to do.
Yes, that's a nice question. So I think there are a lot of these angel networks, and some of them are very, very knowledgeable in different industries, different domains, and they also act as advisors, because obviously it is in their interest as well that the financial returns are being made, and therefore, if you start collaborating with such people, I think that makes a lot of difference. However, to my knowledge, there's nothing structured that is there, but people are always ready to help. I think that's a speciality of Bharat. People are always ready to help. You only need to go and reach out to the right person. When I say right person, people who have knowledge about that industry, and then, if you take hold of their expertise, I think it creates a win-win for everybody. That's what I would like to share. And Subhash ji.
Thank you very much. Well, I think if you've got a good idea, don't give up, is the main point I want to make. Don't give up. Ultimately, you will find some people participating with you, but make sure you take a good advisor with you who can ensure that what you're presenting is effective, right? I mean, there are a lot of presentations that I see in my life, and I just throw them away because there's no substance to that. So you need to, before it ever gets to anybody who is investing, make sure you've done your homework well, as I mentioned earlier in my talk.
Yeah, just to basically summarize in a normal English, that every idea is not a business. Every brilliant idea it may be successful, but may not be successful in business. So what these people fund, people with money, I am just a traffic police. They are the people with cars, right? So, but my 32 years of watching them, what these people actually invest in is a business which can make more profit, right? If your business, I mean, if you have only ideas, learn to make it into a business. Once you have a business, make it profitable. If you can make profitable, then why do you need investment, right? So, but that is besides the point. Still, people will invest if you make money, and if you lose money. The world of finance, many times, the state governments, other officials come to me. They are like me. When we are bureaucrats, right? We are not supposed to know business, and they say, but why these people are not willing to give us? We have this great need, and I say they don't give money to people in need. They give money to people who can give them back, right? So, if we somehow figure out that, no, I have a great need, so that's why I deserve the money, that is not the purpose for these people. That will be a separate discussion on CSR, where we can discuss that portion, that if you have a need, how do you do charity, right? But here, with these people, it is about, if I give you money, how much it will come back, right? So please understand, then start training your engineering students, other students, that boss, ideas don't matter. Execution does, and more importantly, profit does, right?
I would just add to that a little bit by saying, think about not yourself and your idea, but about the investor. How is the investor going to make his money from you? If you can demonstrate that, you'll succeed.
Namaste. I am from Krishna, from Mangalore, Karnataka, South India. It is said that, the question to any of the panelists, it is said that the growth is in tier 3, tier 4 cities in India. So there are a lot of good ideas, good projects coming up. Also, we can see a lot of investors who want to invest, but there is no a concrete platform where these investors can trust on these entrepreneurs who have got very good ideas. Like the funding may not be in thousands of crores. Funding required maybe 5 crores, 10 crores, something like that. And CRISIL, ICRA, these all will be, for the new age entrepreneurs from tier 3, tier 4 cities, it will be really difficult. So my question is, can HEF have a platform where they can be rated, where they can be nurtured, and where can, many of them will not have the idea like what is told now, how to present their ideas, they may not be knowing. So they may be needing nurturing. So can we have HEF create a platform for bringing together such a beautiful ideas with a very good return, as Ashish ji told, they can assure a very good return, and ethics are anyway will be there, and investor can come and invest in those ventures.
Yeah, I'll take that question, and thank you very much for a very good question. It's something that the forum has considered quite a lot, and every forum, like this afternoon at 4:30, I think, am I right, 4:30? There is a networking event, which is not really networking, it's actually matchmaking event, where people are going to be pitching for their businesses. And there are going to be a group of investors or advisors to investors who are going to be listening and commenting on them. And so do participate with that. And of course, outside this, there are some groups that I've met in Mumbai, for example, who specialize in introducing and running this kind of business angels groups, etc. And those are the ones to work with.
Just to add to this, again, I mean, I have been a failed entrepreneur, so I know what you feel about. Nobody funded me, right? So I can feel for you. So if you have a good business, don't worry about ideas. Create business, make it profitable, come to stock exchange. Even if you want 1 crore rupees, exchanges are allowing you. That's the purpose of SME. Today's topic was also about how to make people, see, there are angel networks. I don't know how many of you know, but across India now, people with money are getting together, 5 people, 10 people, even in tier 3, tier 4 cities, where you are able to go and pitch them. And they are your people near you, so they want to, of course, check what you want to do. They have done businesses before, they can actually promote you, then they will take you to larger angel groups, and then they will take you to venture capitalists, private equity. But despite whatever you read in Economic Times, page 3, all the entrepreneurs don't get funded. In fact, 99.999% entrepreneurs will not get funded. I'm not saying about ideas. Ideas will be even larger ideas, larger number of ideas will not get funded. Businesses will not get funded by angel investors or private equity or venture capitalists because they don't see the potential. That doesn't mean your business is bad. It's just that you need to work harder. And I have seen many companies which were not funded by angel investors, even in Mumbai, which is like very large number of angel investors. They've come to stock markets. They've raised SME capital, 1 crore, 2 crore, like that. In 1 crore, you don't get even a 2-bedroom hall kitchen flat in Coimbatore today, right? But people have raised 1 crore on Indian capital market. And that is the uniqueness of Indian capital market. Nowhere in the world, this kind of tiny companies are able to raise funds from public. Only in India, because the cost of raising funds. Subhash ji also knows people who help you take to the SME platform if nobody is funding, provided it's a profit-making business running for more than 3 years and has some potential. So they will be able to file prospectus and actually take you to the NSE or BSE platform. So don't worry. If you have a good business, today's India will get you funding wherever, whichever caste you come from, whichever regions you come from, whichever tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 cities.
Sir, I am ML Meena. We are in the waste management and we are working almost in 15 states on bioremediation and processing. And one of the main issue is the disposal of RDF, inert, etc. Now the only solution seems to be the setting up of waste to energy plants. We are working on this waste to energy plant. So Sangeeta ji talked about the renewable energy, but the main issue is the fund availability. We have seen, we have technology, very good technology. We have submitted the plants, but the availability of fund is the main issue. Now, one of the problem is that there is no policy framework. State governments don't have proper policy as regarding to the power purchase agreements. Even if the PPAs are there, they have terminated the PPAs, so the project has landed up in a serious problem. So I just would like to know where we can get this fund for this waste to energy plant.
So you will have to pitch to the right investors who believe in that, who want to contribute, for the green or the waste part. So just go to probably any of the angel networks will be a good point to start. You have India Angel Network, Chennai Angels, Native Angels. There are lots of, different Mumbai Angels. There are a lot of these angel networks. So I think the good way for you would be to start with these angel networks, prepare a nice pitch deck, and then see if you can raise funds.
Can I want to add.
Yeah, this policy on the power purchase and all. Yeah.
No, I just want to have, waste invariably there are industrial, get closer to invariably there are industrial associations who gather together and create common effluent treatment or whatever it is common. That is how it is done in most of the places. In most of the places, what happens is that the association, wherever you have a similar set of industry, cluster of industry, they gather, they chip in, they make sure that necessary funding is done, they contribute and do it. This is how it has been done. And government also does in most of the industrial estates.
Let me just add, have you prepared a business plan for for this idea that you just mentioned? So let's have a look at it.
Yep, and if it doesn't work, Sangeeta ji mentioned in her, one of the slides, it's called pivot. If this thing doesn't work, you have to do pivot and do something else, right? So learn to shift rather than saying my idea is the best. It will not change, the rest of the world has to change, that doesn't work, right? You'll have to change to what world requires and probably that is a piece of advice I gave to myself after I failed.
Namaste.
And thank you, organizers have increased the time by a few more minutes, so please.
Namaste. I am Chaya Nanjappa. I run a social enterprise in rural Bharat, one of the successful units of the Khadi and Village Industries Commission since the past 15 years. I would kindly want to know from the esteemed panelists, how are the opportunities for women-owned businesses, especially social enterprises that are profitable, not merely sustaining, but scaling up and doing extremely well and creating an impact, because we find a big gap there because local banks don't support us. And like you all said, if Bharat needs to become a Vishwaguru, it has to be with inclusive growth, because rural women folk are contributing enormously. Just wanted to have a response.
Well, I'll quickly say that don't ever feel that women cannot raise money for their business. That's not the case, and you should be able to do it. You must be able to do it, and there are plenty of organizations now who are supporting and raising money. So if you've got a good business, prepare a business plan. Good business plan, put it out, you'll be able to raise the money.
No, I think everyone has issues. Women have, of course, more issues in raising funds. But the experience is that even recent past, a lot of companies led by women have raised funds from public also, and they've done well. At the same time, the government is very acutely aware of the problems women face, so they are supporting the NGOs. They are also supporting the women entrepreneurs by Mudra loan and everything else.
Self-help groups.
And self-help groups and all. But now social stock exchange has also been mooted. So the social stock exchange also is starting up now. Any NGO which has impact investments, which is a profit making but wants more investments, or which is not for profit but wants investments, like Gaurang Prabhuji's also activities also we are trying to list as NGOs and their activities on the NSE's social stock exchange platform. So depending on what you want to do, not for profit, for profit, but figure that out. You can't be in between. Then nobody will want to know. Either you have to be on NGO side or you have to be on profit side. When you are on profit side, you have to show profits, continue to show higher and higher profits. If you want to do the impact on the not-for-profit, then you have to keep on showing more and more impact, larger impact, and then of course the funds today start getting available based on the results you provide, right?
Namaskar. My name is Sunil Kataria. I am myself a CFO, so Sangeeta ji's presentation resonated all the more to me. But the question is to you, Ashish ji. This triggered from the discussion on the charity, just for a brief that happened. We have created a foundation called the WHEF network because we felt the pain that not-for-profits go through by asking for charity day after day and year after year. So with the help of this foundation, we have socially inclined businesses, these are real businesses, profitable, whom we are trying to help with our ecosystem, grow 10x from where they join us, but at the same time create pledges, the endowments, the returns we give it to not-for-profits. This is an inclusive growth model that we are working on. The question is, because you coming from the for-profit side of it, all of you here, what is that one thing that you would advise us that will help us bring the socially inclined businesses and the not-for-profits to contribute to the growth of Bharat?
So one thing I would say, the lady who asked question to meet you after this, so she can actually get the funding she needs, right? So we have a matchmaking happening here. But effectively, whatever you want to do, even for charity or not for profit, I work on both because of social stock exchange. And of course, in my personal time, I work on the not for profit side. But basically, for whichever side you work on, funding is available for results. Not for ideas, not for talks, not for projections. If you can give execution, if you can results, people will give you more, even if you are in impact or NGO side. If you are on business or profit side, again, results matter. Everything else is what I call hot air. Last question.
So just to add on, that's my book, it's called Where's the Moolah? Moolah is money. So it talks about financial growth hacking for business profitability. So I think whichever sector people are into, if they can focus on the growth, financial growth of the business, I think that really helps.
Panelists, there are last 3 questions.
Okay.
There is so much demand. So bear with us.
But please be very, very quick with the questions.
Very quick and brief.
Namaste Ashish ji, the question is to you. It is on the social stock exchange. I am an author on a geographical indication book. Bharat has got 350 geographical indication products. And most of the association which are holding the ownership, they don't know about social stock exchange. And there is an immense potential, we can invite them. Do you have any roadmap on that, number one? Number two...
please, one question. Sorry, so much of demand.
Okay, so basically, as I told you, my job is of a traffic police. Traffic police usually doesn't have roadmap. He sits on the counter section and then starts sort of regulating traffic. So we have the WOW network, which can tell you. In fact, some of you who are into social sector might want to know the story of Haribol, milk product and other products from ISKCON, which is just becoming very large across India and also internationally. It's again an impact investment, but it's profitable because they want to remain profitable and things like that. So you will have many varieties which are suitable to, because till now we were working on models which are Western models. Now we are working on Bharat models also, right? Of course, Western models have worked for them, and so we have adapted those models in stock exchange and all. But now we are also modifying that platform to suit our own cultural requirements, and so that's where there are many people here I see, I work with them, I advise them on more impact side or on the NGO side. So you will just network here and you will find some answers to your questions.
Namaste Ashish ji. So my name is Shri Narayanan. I'm a journalist. So people have been talking about infrastructure and everything. So what about media sector? Where can we pitch investments for the media sector? Media in the sense, the future is going to be social media. Either it is going to be YouTube, Facebook and Twitter for some reasons. So, but these are the platforms which pays very well also. Be it YouTube monetization policy and Facebook monetization policy, it pays a very good amount as well. So where can we pitch, I mean, I'm from the media sector, so where can we pitch for media investments?
4:30 p.m. today, ask Mr. Thakrar after this.
Okay, one last question from this gentleman.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for this session. We spoke a lot about financial investments here in the financial sector. What is your feel about investing in health tech, and have you got any insights into population health management specifically around that side?
No, it's a good question. We have so many hospitals listed in last 3 years, especially during COVID and after COVID. In the middle of COVID, I listed a company called Max Healthcare, and it became $1 billion market cap in no time. Today probably it's much larger. But we are having many hospitals getting listed, many other, of course, pharmaceutical companies. India is a leader. But in every area on small, SME sector, which is actually a high-tech sector, there also you can list if you have a small company, if you have a larger company, but there are venture capitalists, there are angel investors, they need money basically. They, of course, they might be interested in healthcare as sort of an extra thing, but if you can show them that you can make money for their investments, they will invest in you even otherwise. So it's not about the media or healthcare or roads. Investors want returns, right? So once you can show that, then you will get the sort of investments.
It is really, it's a pleasure to have a lot of questions with the panelists. But since we are running short of time, you can meet them personally. If you have any further questions, you can ask them. So we'll take a break for about 5 to 10 minutes, and we reassemble here for the next session at 11:15.
Thank you very much, audience.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. A big applause for the panelists. आशीष जी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, सुभाष जी, नारायण जी, संगीता जी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. Thank you.